Cleveland, and I saw this stat put up recently. All NBA championships, their worst month, I think, is March in terms of win percentage. Everyone just kind of starts to like chill a little bit here. But we saw the Cavs. Not only have they lost a few in a row, overall they haven't been playing that well. They won tonight. Tonight was one of the weirder stat lines you'll ever see. They shot something like 20% from three and won by 30 points over Utah, which is tanking its ass off right now. But yeah, that's what they shot 20. They shot 48 threes tonight against Utah, 22.9%. They made 11 of them, and they still won this game by 29 points. But they're not playing with the same level of dominance again, at least recently. Donovan Mitchell's been on a cold streak shooting wise for the last 8 to 10 games or so. And they're starting to look a little bit more human. And if you look at them again, you have a better point differential than the Celtics, maybe thanks to a lot of blowout wins, throughout the year. And they've had a couple long win streaks, but overall you look at teams who are top 5 or 6 in offensive and defensive rating. Cleveland's not one of those teams. OKC is. The Celtics are. Minnesota's close. I think they're like 4 and 7 or something like that. But Cleveland's not one of those teams. And I do wonder, I think a lot of people aren't worried about them, have never been worried about them, are willing to respect them and think that they're good. But most people, I think, push comes to shove, are going to be backing the Celtics if those two meet in the conference finals, as it appears that they might. How are you guys feeling about the Cavs these days? Noah, start with you.
Yeah, I think the streak, it felt long overdue. They've just been on this torrid, just insane pace of winning this season. It's not the ideal time. I know the stat about the Warriors and the Nuggets. I still think that for a team like them that they haven't had a deep playoff run, if you're gonna get your adversity moment of trying to like overcome something and get better from it, it's not the best time to have it a couple weeks before the playoffs begin. It's a lot of it has been Donovan Mitchell's really struggled, and he's somebody that's pretty proven in the postseason. And I don't think if they lose, it's going to be because he didn't show up. So on that side, like, I guess that's a pretty good sign. Like, I don't think he's gonna. He was like 2 of 18 the other night. For the Celtics, I like this matchup. So that's why when we've talked about these two teams meeting, which I do think is a more valuable conversation, because it does seem pretty likely that that's going to happen, or more likely that's going to happen. I like the matchup, but again, all of these teams, all of these matchups, it's like, it's going to come down to so many little things. Like we talked about Indiana last year, like we talked about this a million times, but a couple of things go differently in that game one. Like we're looking at a different series. So as much as I have confidence in the Celtics, and I don't think this 4-game losing streak is indicative of like they've been frauds this whole time, I still think there's a lot of reasons why this roster just is stronger than the Cavs. And I don't love the fact that they haven't been there before. Like I know every team has their breakthrough moment, but the OKC has more of those factors of like, this is their year than Cleveland does. So I don't know. I like that they lost those few games from a Celtics standpoint, because I think they needed to have something happen. Like they needed to have some reckoning. And so I think that it was becoming kind of like weird how neither of the teams had any losing streak, and now one of them has. But it's March, and the Warriors and the Nuggets like kind of set that groundwork already.
I mean, what matters more, the fact that they have 2 15-game winning streaks this year, or one, 4-game losing streak.
Right.
It's a long season. I think, the same excuses we can make for the Celtics when they look off, we can make for the Cavs, that it's game 70. This Cavs team has been, in the standings, at least light years away of pretty much everybody in the East for a while. Coming back down to earth, I think, is normal. Certainly, if you're the Cavs, you don't want to go limping into the playoffs. I think you want to go in, playing strong basketball, and you do want to go in as that 1 seed, not because of home court, although we know how good the Cavs are at home, but because it signifies that you finished the year strong and you were able to kind of, finish how you started. If you give up the 1 seed to the Celtics, that just be a horrible look for them going into the playoffs. I think that would mess with them mentally a little bit. And I think it would give the Celtics even more like just ammo and just confidence that they are, the team to beat. And I'm sure they feel that way anyways. But if the Celtics end up with the 1 seed going into playoffs, that means the Cavs really did limp to the finish line here. And that doesn't bode well for them.
I saw Celtics have a 1% chance to get.
Yeah, I mean, it is highly unlikely, but the fact that it's only 5 games now, and again, it's still unlikely, it just goes to show that, a little bit of a losing streak like the Cavs found themselves on, all of a sudden, just like that, the gap closes because the Celtics can rip off 10 wins as easy as any team in the league. So you can't really afford to take too much time off if you're the Cavs, but I think that they need to, sort of right the ship a little bit. I'm not saying that it's way off track, but just get back to their style of play. I think the Cavs are legit. I think it's definitely Celtics Cavs in the NBA Finals. There's no team in the East. Detroit's interesting, right? Because they can kind of like just out like
it's my favorite
muscle
team.
you and stuff. I just don't know if they can do it in a 7-game series repeatedly enough.
I think you can get scares from Detroit. I think you can get a scare from Indiana. Here,
Indy, though, I don't know.
I like how they're playing a lot lately,
team.
and that's a team that the Celtics they can do things
and give you a scare,
that frustrate the Celtics. So matchups are everything. Just in terms of, again, can you see the Celtics fully healthy losing a 7-game series to anyone in the East? No, I mean beating them four times is going to be extremely difficult. They got to go ice cold for an entire series, I think, for that to be realistic. But, you lose a hot shooting game, you go cold for 2, things could definitely happen. And I think some of those teams can frustrate them or be athletic and physical. They're not bulletproof. Last year, I thought they were, even before people started falling with injuries, I thought they were bulletproof last year. I couldn't fathom it.
Right.
I think other teams are better around them this year and might be entering the playoffs a little bit better off.
The three is so important, and they haven't had it for a lot this year, the Celtics, at least compared to how they had it last year. And I think that's played out in how their season's gone. And for the Cavs, it's been everything. And they've been floating around like 40% from 3 all year, which is unbelievable given the personnel they have, given what they did in the past. They don't shoot a ton, but it does make sense to me that they're up at 38% for the season, which is first in the league. And during this losing streak, they're down the last in the league at 31%. And most of it's Mitchell, as Noah said, down to 14%. So I wouldn't be panicking if I was them, just given those massive drop-offs and his specifically. But I do wonder, are they going to shoot 38% during the playoffs from 3? Are they going to be able to hold that up? And specifically, can they stop their opponents from hitting threes, which is really why they've been dominant this year? And in that Celtics matchup, other than the last game where they did it well with Hunter involved and all that, they haven't stopped the Celtics threes in those games. It's been like a 15-20 shot difference in the first 3 games there. And Celtics were able to get their 40-50 threes off and have that as a real edge over Cleveland. So that's where I think that matchup gets decided. Do the Celtics have a cold streak in them from 3 in the playoffs? I still think that's such a big part of their game that it would impact them negatively if that happened, especially from a Holiday or a Hauser or a Horford or something like that. And then for the Cavs, I almost think if you're them, you have to keep that up to be able to beat the Celtics. It's going to take some extraordinary shooting from that team to be able to win a series against Boston, just because I don't think they can shoot as many threes as the Celtics do. So the threes are still everything here. And Celtics have gotten back to, I think, 6th in the league, but they were first last year. And that was what made them really unstoppable.
No one's sneaking a vegan brownie by me, I'll tell you that.
Okay, you know what, John? We're going to do it.
You have to feel that way too, Bobby.
I have to feel that way.
Yeah.
Slide Al over and make Luke your first center.
Bobby, we gave you Luke hour early. We're not going to end this on a damn conversation about Luke